Hi everyone, welcome back to the Soulful Cook, where I share with you some of my favorite vegan recipes. Today we're going to be making another one of my favorite vegan takeout dishes, sesame tofu. Now this recipe does have a little bit of sesame oil to bring that extra sesame flavor out, but if you want to make this oil-free, all you have to do is take out the sesame oil. If you prefer the written version of this recipe, head over to my blog at thesoulfulcook.com. You can also view the written version of this recipe in the description box below. All the products I use in this video are linked down below, and just remember, anytime you do purchase from those links, you are supporting this channel in a huge way, which will only help us share even more content with you. Now before we jump into this recipe, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you get notified every time I post a new video. Alright, let's make something healthy. So first thing we're going to do is make our tofu, and here's everything you're going to need for the batter. As always, we want to first make sure we're pressing our tofu to remove all the excess moisture. So in a thin kitchen towel, I'm just going to wrap my extra firm tofu. You want to make sure it's completely covered. And then you want to place something heavy on top. If you have a tofu press, that's perfect. I'm just using the lid of a heavy Dutch oven. And I want to press that down for about 35 minutes. So as you can see, my towel is completely drenched. So we're just going to set that aside. And then we're going to start cutting up our tofu. Now for this recipe, I've cut them up into small cubes, but you can cut them in any shape or size you prefer. So in a separate bowl, I'm adding a teaspoon of sesame oil. If you want to make this oil-free, then you can skip this step. 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and 2.5 tablespoons of tamari, and I use low sodium tamari. So now I'm just going to gently mix everything to make sure each piece of tofu is covered with cornstarch and tamari. So on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper, I'm just gonna set the tofu one by one on an even layer. You wanna make sure no pieces are overlapping. And I do highly recommend using non-stick parchment paper. The last thing you want is your tofu to stick or burn to your parchment paper. So it's always best to use non-stick. And we're gonna bake that at 425 for about 30 minutes. So in the meantime, we're gonna start making our sauce. And here's everything you're gonna need to get started. In a wok or a hot skillet, we're gonna add half a tablespoon of sesame oil. Again, if you want this oil-free, then skip that step. 2 cloves of minced garlic. Half a tablespoon of grated ginger. And then I'm just gonna saute that for about 30 seconds to a minute. So now we're gonna add half a cup of tamari. Again, I'm using low sodium tamari. A 1/4 cup of rice vinegar. 1.5 teaspoons of chili paste, and you can adjust this according to your spice level, and 2 tablespoons of coconut sugar. So now I'm just gonna mix everything and I'm gonna let that simmer for about 2 to 3 minutes. Now to thicken our sauce, we're going to make our cornstarch slurry. I'm adding 2 tablespoons of cornstarch to 1/4 cup of water. And then I'm going to mix that thoroughly with a fork. You want to make sure there's absolutely no lumps before you add it to the sauce. So once we add it to the sauce, you want to start mixing it immediately on low heat. If you have the heat too high, it will start to clump up, so make sure you mix it right away on low heat. If your sauce is too thick, then you can add a little bit of water at a time to thin it out. So to our sauce, we're going to add our cooked tofu, and then I'm just going to mix that to make sure all of the tofu pieces are evenly covered in the sauce. And this part's optional. I'm just going to sprinkle some sesame seeds over the tofu. It will give it that extra sesame flavor that we're looking for. And there you have it, easy vegan sesame tofu, the perfect dish to satisfy your takeout cravings. If you're looking for more recipes like this one, head over to my blog at thesoulfulcook.com. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to hit subscribe. Click the bell icon so you get notified every time I post a new video. If you ended up making this recipe or any others, don't forget to tag at The Soulful Cook. I'd love to see how it turns out. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.